Good morning, students. Today, this presentation is about influenza virus. It belongs to the family Orthomyxoviridae. In Italian, the word influenza means something to influence. So, influenza virus is commonly we are associating with flu, which is a acute respiratory disease. Don't confuse with common cold. Common cold is caused by rhinovirus or adenovirus infection. Flu is little more severe form of respiratory disease. In influenza virus infection, there is damage to the mucosa membrane, that is upper respiratory tract, which is very important for eliminating the microbes. As a result, there may be cause of lower respiratory tract infection also. There are vaccines available which are prepared in embryonated eggs. There are two important antigens, that is the hemagglutinin and neuraminidase, which is the part of the vaccines. But the flu, it's like it appears every year. You would have heard about H1N1 and H3N1. So flu appears every year. The novel strains are seen, but there is a constant change in this virus. Because of this constant change, the if our body is already fighting with producing some antibody, it cannot fight every year with the same intensity, because there is changes in this virus. So coming to the classification of the virus, you have three genus: type A, type B, type C, and this three genera is based on the antigenicity of the viral particle, the viral nucleoprotein and the M proteins. So in the next slide, I'll tell you where are these nucleoproteins and M proteins present. But the type B and type C infects only humans, but type A can infect birds, pigs, horses, and type A can be further subdivided into many subtypes depending on the antigenicity of hemagglutinin and neuraminidase, like example H1N1 or H5N1 strains. So there are totally like 16 different hemagglutinin possible and 9 different neuraminidase are possible. If you combine, theoretically you can get 144 subtypes can be generated, but not all the subtypes are known. So you would have heard 2013 flu, that is the seasonal flu epidemic. It was caused by H1N1 and H3N2 and along with influenza V virus. So when you have so many different types of changes happening in this virus, the nomenclature is little different. Below I have written one small line, that is APR8 1934 H1N1. So that is how it is named. So in addition to a multiplicity of the subtypes, the country or the city and the year of isolation are indicated in the nomenclature of influenza virus. Like type A, PR8 1934 H1N1 means there the type A influenza virus. PR stand for Puerto Rico. Then 8, then comes the year and the type H1N1. So that is how it is named every time. So coming to viral structure, it's an envelope virus, and the envelope is made up of three different types of protein. As I told, HA, that is the hemagglutinin protein. N1 Na is the neuraminidase, and M2 protein is very important structural protein, and inside to that is the M1, and inside to that is the nucleoproteins which are present. So it is an envelope protein. I'll repeat again, it's an envelope protein, and with a diameter of 80 to 120 nanometer. There are two important viral glycoproteins, that are hemagglutinin and neuraminidase. And hemagglutinin is very important because it binds to RBCs, and that is also important in recognizing the cellular receptor for entry. M2 protein is an ion channel protein and is embedded in viral envelope. That is very important in fusion, because it can increase the pH by recruiting the H plus ion inside the envelope when it is inside the cell. Coming to next protein, that is the M1 protein, which lines inside the envelope. It is a matrix protein attached to the inner leaflet of the lipid bilayer. Inside the envelope, there are 8 nucleocapsids are enclosed, in which each viral RNA segment is coated by nucleoproteins. And nucleocapsids represent a helical structure. One capsids or nucleocapsids are given in the one enlarged structure, where the viral RNA dependent RNA polymerase is bound to the top of the nucleocapsids. And also there is a NEP protein which is bound to M1 protein. NEP means nuclear export protein, which is having a critical function. So this is about the viral structure of influenza virus. What I have been explaining in this PPT is type A influenza virus. Coming to genome structure, it has segmented genome or split genome. There are 8 RNA segments. It's a negative sense RNA containing viral genome. The multiplicity of this genome is attributed for the emergence of viral variant through genetic recombination. Each segment is single-stranded. It can vary from 0.9 kilobase pairs to 2.3 kilobase pair in length. And as I told, it is negative strand viral RNA. So it has to be converted to positive strand for synthesis of viral proteins. There is no cap seen here at the 5' end, or there is no polyadenylation seen at the 3' end. Instead, there is a triphosphate group at the 5' end, and there is a 3' OH group at the 3' end. You can see that the viral RNA, the negative strand RNA starts from 3' to 5', but the mRNA will be like from 5' to 3'. That is why the RNA dependent RNA polymerase binds at the 3' and helps in transcription. Now it's important to see that there are 12 to 13 non-coding region at the either ends of the either ends of the viral RNA, which are complementary to each other, and it can fold and form a panhandles like structure, which is important for the integrity of the secondary structure. Integrity by forming a secondary structure, which is critical in transcription and RNA genome replication. So the recognition, the life cycle, the replication mostly occurs in the nucleus. So as any other viruses, the first step in the viral life cycle is the recognition of a receptor and then entry into the cytoplasm, and then the viral RNAs are imported into the nucleus, where they undergo transcription and also replication happens. And then once the viral RNA is generated, that is exported to the cytoplasm, and then there is the packaging assembly happening, and then finally release. So viral RNAs, this influenza particle recognizes a membrane bound protein, which is a glycoprotein. Basically, hemagglutinin is the protein which recognizes a sialic acid moiety of a glycan on the cell membrane, triggers endocytosis. This sialic acid is linked to galactose by either the linkage is very important, because it can be linked either by 2,3 linkage or the alpha 2,6 linkage. In human influenza virus prefer to bind to alpha 2,6 linkage, while avian influenza virus binds to alpha 2,3 linkage. Glycans in the human upper respiratory tract are largely composed of alpha 2,6 linkage. This is the reason why human infection and viral infection are not cross-changed, because of this receptor recognition. Now, once the hemagglutinin binds to this glycan, there is triggering of endocytosis. That is, receptor-mediated endocytosis happen. Upon endocytosis, the viral particles are located inside something called as endosome. Now, inside the endosome, there is an acidic pH. This acidic pH triggers the membrane fusion between the two membrane. Now, this is an envelope protein. Again, you have an endosome, which is an envelope. The triggering of the fusion, both the membrane happens. How is this pH increased? The M2 ion channel protein, you remember, it is in the membrane, which has the properties to take protons inside the viral envelope, and resulting lower pH induces the conformational change in hemagglutinin trimer, such that the embedded fusion protein, this hemagglutinin is very interesting because it has a hemagglutinin domain 1, domain 2. In between that, you have this fusion protein. That fusion protein now becomes unfolded. That means it gets activated. The activated fusion protein then triggers the fusion between two membranes, and as a result, the nucleocapsids inside the envelope are released into the cytoplasm. Now, once they are released into the cytoplasm, they had to be imported into the nuclear membrane. That happens by these nucleocapsids, that is the protein coated RNA with a terminal RNA polymerase, binds to alpha importin and beta importin. Now, these alpha importin and beta importin coated nucleoproteins, they bind to the nuclear pore complex, and then they get into the nucleus, inside the nucleus. Now, this nucleocapsid constitutes the viral RNA, nucleoproteins which are coated on the viral RNA for protection, and RNA dependent RNA polymerase. Now, coming to the next step will be the transcription. The transcription of 8 different RNAs will produce, because there are 8 different RNA, each will code at least for one protein, except M1 and M2 segment, which codes for 2 proteins via alternative splicing. The M1 segment also expresses M2, while NS1 segment also expresses the NEP protein and NS1. There is also a novel protein which is produced, that is PB1 and F2, which is associated with enhanced virulence, because that is a critical protein which binds to mitochondria and induces the apoptosis, helps in the release of the viral particle. Now, there are 8 different RNA. One of the largest length RNA is 2.3 kilobases. So that is code for PB1. PB1 RNA, that is the core RNA polymerase. PB2 codes for a protein which has a function of cap binding. PA codes for a protein which is also a part of the RNA dependent RNA polymerase complex that has endonuclease activity. HA codes for hemagglutinin, NP codes for nucleoprotein, and NA codes for neuraminidase. M1 is a matrix protein, M2 is an ion channel protein, NAP is a nuclear export protein. Now, coming to transcription, RNA polymerase do not see, when you have the normal cellular RNA getting transcribed, RNA polymerase do not need a primer, that there is a de novo initiation happening. But in case of viral RNA dependent RNA polymerase, that needs a primer for transcription initiation, because there is no capping. So, how is this done? There is an important role of NS1 protein. Now, once this NS1 protein is synthesized, that goes and binds to CPSF protein. Now, this CPSF protein is cleavage and polyadenylation specificity factor, that is a cellular protein that acts on polyadenylation via it binding to some sequence, that is EAA, UAA element on pre-mRNA. So this NS1 binds to CPSF protein and blocks the polyadenylation. Once the polyadenylation is blocked, the cellular signal for transport or the export of the RNA to the cytoplasm is blocked, thereby helping the viral RNA dependent RNA polymerase to help to take the 5 prime cap. So the transcription initiation starts by stealing the cap and the from the cellular RNAs and utilize it as primer. So this stealing the cap is by PB2 protein. The PA protein cleaves a PB2 protein binds to the cap, but PA is the one which cleaves a capped RNA fragment from the 5 prime end of the cellular mRNA, which is then used as a primer for viral mRNA. This process is referred to as cap snatching. There is also shuttering, that is a mechanism where the poly A tail at the 3 prime end of the viral mRNA is added via template dependent manner. Once the cap is added, this PB1, which is the core polymerase, extends, and then once it reaches a signal sequence where polyadenylation is to be done, there is slipping, and then polyadenylation is done by the viral RNA, and viral RNA is released from the sequence. Now it's important to know that viral mRNAs are not complementary to the 5 prime end of the viral negative sent mRNA. Viral mRNAs are not exactly complementary to the viral genomic negative strands RNA. That means that 12 to 13 nucleotides are left on. Only the protein coding region is incorporated into viral mRNA. And once this polyadenylation is done, the viral mRNA is exported to the cytoplasm and is used as mRNA for protein synthesis. So now once this protein synthesis is happening, there is a lot of proteins are synthesized, and the nucleoproteins are imported inside the nucleus. Again, this alpha and beta importance plays an important role in importing the nucleoproteins which are synthesized. What are these nucleoprotein? RNA dependent RNA polymerase, nucleoprotein, and another structural protein, another few proteins. Structural means these nucleoproteins which can bind to the mRNA to the viral RNA are imported into the nucleus. M1, NEP, they are imported into the nucleus via importing alpha and beta. So once this is done, there is a regulation of viral mRNA production. So once the nucleoproteins are imported and they are high inside the nucleus, the viral mRNA is production is stopped, and now replication begins. Inside the nucleus, the viral proteins are imported into the nucleus. I'm repeating it again. The viral proteins are nucleocapsid proteins, RNA dependent RNA polymerase, NEP proteins are imported. So there are two distinct RNA which are produced by viral RNA, that is the positive sense RNA, that is mRNA, and complementary RNA. Complementary RNA does not require a primer. Thus, the prime end of the complementary RNA is precisely complementary to the viral RNA. Viral RNA is synthesized using complementary RNA as the template. So now this nascent viral RNA is encapsulated by the nucleoprotein, resulting in viral nucleoprotein formation. So once this viral nucleoprotein formation, this picture B you see, where the viral nucleoprotein are exported to the cytoplasm. That is, once they are exported, they are help in synthesis of hemagglutinin and neuraminidase, which plays an important role in the entry and exit of the viral particles. So nuclear export of this nascent viral nucleoproteins are exported to cytoplasm via nuclear pore. The M1 protein plays an important role, as well as NEP protein facilitates nuclear export. M1 protein binds to viral nucleoprotein, and NEP protein binds indirectly to viral nucleoproteins via its interaction with M1 protein. So now NEP proteins via the interaction with CRM the protein, via protein export pathway, these viral nucleoproteins are exported into the cytoplasm. Once inside the cytoplasm, they are in the endoplasmic reticulum. The hemagglutinin and neuraminidase proteins are synthesized. So once they are synthesized, they are also processed. Neuraminidase, the extracellular domain has the neuraminidase activity, and they are membrane proteins. And hemagglutinin has two domains: hemagglutinin subunit 1 and subunit 2, which are linked by disulfide bond, and this subunits are cleaved at the C terminal of subunit 1, exposing the fusion protein. So once this cleavage is done, there is proper ready for the assembly and package. Now you have the viral nucleoproteins also. The 8 different viral nucleoproteins, ribonucleoproteins, are synthesized. They are produced and sent to the cytoplasm via the export of the viral nucleoprotein via the nuclear pore, and then this endoplasmic reticulum also synthesizes this neuraminidase and then hemagglutinin, and then they are exported outside the cell. Now assembly and release. Once they are synthesized in the nuclear membrane, endoplasmic membrane, and then they are in the cytoplasm. The ribonucleoproteins, which are synthesized in the nucleus and exported into cytoplasm, they associate with the microtubules, and when they associate with microtubule, they move towards the cell surface in the microtubule dependent manner. Microtubule driven transport moves the nucleocapsid in the opposite direction of the entry. Upon reaching the plasma membrane, a set of viral nucleoprotein groups together interacts with hemagglutinin and neuraminidase. So from endoplasmic reticulum, these hemagglutinin and neuraminidase are put onto the plasma membrane, and this viral nucleoproteins also, 8 different viral nucleoproteins, when they approach us together to that plasma membrane side, there is production of this viral particles are produced. The neuraminidase activity facilitates the release of this nascent particles from the infected cells. How this cleaves a sialic acid moiety as a nascent viral particles are attached to the cell surface via its hemagglutinin protein. So once the assembly happens, the nascent viral particles are still attached to the cell surface, that is cleaved by the neuraminidase activity that releases the nascent viral particles. So in summary, you have the influenza virus, which binds to the receptor, that is, it binds to the glycan of the glycan receptor by recognizing the sialic acid, and galactose bind to sialic acid, and this triggers the endocytosis. Endocytosis leads to membrane fusion by the action of the membrane M2 protein, which is an ion channel which pumps the proton inside the the viral envelope which leads to fusion of the two membrane, that is the endosome membrane and the viral membrane, that will release ribonucleoprotein that enters via the alpha importin and beta importin action on the nuclear complex. The viral ribonucleoprotein enters the nucleus where the mRNAs are synthesized. Once the mRNAs are synthesized using the M1 and NEP protein and interaction with CRM1 mediated pathway, they are exported into the cytoplasm where the synthesis of viral particles happens. The viral particles are synthesized inside the Golgi and they are sent to the plasma membrane. Once they are enough is synthesized, there are other structural proteins like the RNA dependent RNA polymerase, nucleoproteins and NEP proteins are imported into the nucleus. Once enough of nucleoproteins are imported, the mRNA synthesis is regulated by NS1, and then they are like viral complementary complementary RNA is synthesized, from which the negative sense RNA is synthesized. And once this is synthesized, it's coated with nucleoprotein, and then they are exported to the cytoplasm where 8 different RNAs approach the plasma membrane, which contains the hemagglutinin and neuraminidase. They are pinched off as nascent viral particles which are still attached to sialic acid, which is broken down by the neuraminidase, and then they are released out into the like for further infection. And it's very important to know that the viral mRNA does not have the 5' capping ability, but it snatches from the host cellular RNA. So that is a very important activity of this influenza virus, that is blockading the RNA processing by binding with CPSF protein cleavage and polyadenylation specificity factor, and results in helping in accumulation of the mRNA inside the nucleus, helping in cap snatching. And also this NS1 plays an important role in host immune evasion, because once the virus is infected, there is triggering of the interferons. The interferons are produced telling that the cells are infected with viruses, but this NS1 suppresses the host immune response. How does it do? First, NS1 blocks the RIG protein signaling. This is an important part in the central signaling pathway of innate immune response, because ubiquitination of RIG1 is essential for activation of RIG1. But NS1 inhibits the ubiquitination of RIG1 by interaction with TRIM25, that is tripartite motif family protein that harbors the tripartite motif, that is ring domain, B box domain and coil domain. This is blocked by NS1 protein, thereby suppressing the interferon induction. Another part this NS1 does is by inhibiting the antiviral action. Protein kinase R, which is a serine threonine protein kinase that is activated by double-stranded RNA and 2' 3' oligoadenylate synthetase is inhibited by NS1 protein. Both which is both of which are induced by interferons. So okay, so NS1 binds to and sequesters double-stranded RNA, which is essential for activation of protein kinase R and oligoadenylate synthase, thereby blocking the interferon induction as well as interferon action. So there is also one more particle which I mentioned, that is PB1F2 peptide, which is produced in higher rate when there is refers to the virulence of certain strain. This protein, a mitochondrial protein, disrupt mitochondrial membrane potential and induces apoptosis via mitochondrial cytochrome C release. Now, summary: viral particles, they are enveloped by a viral particle. The envelope contains three proteins: hemagglutinin, neuraminidase, and M2 protein. Each contains 8 segmented genomes, that is viral ribonucleoproteins, each of which is encompassed by nucleoprotein. They're coated with nucleoprotein, and inside that one part is the RNA dependent RNA polymerase is associated with viral nucleoprotein. The genome is segmented, which is 8 segments, and the viral RNA folds into panhandle structure. That is important for transcription and replication. Genome replication: the viral genome replication occurs in nucleus. Nuclear protein regulates the switch from transcription to genome replication. The viral mRNA transcription is primed by cap snatching mechanism. NS1 is the virulence factor. The NS1 suppresses the host mRNA processing but also suppresses host innate immune response. Now there are like variants which are generated. The antigenic drift is caused by high mutation rate. Antigenic shift occurs as a consequence of genetic assortment between two different strains. That's very important because new strains are formed by this. You can have a combination of avian and human, which is like mixes in pig, and then you have every time a new virus forming. Now you have H1N1, which was Spanish flu, and then H2N2, which is Asian flu, which came out in 1957, and then H3N2, which was Hong Kong flu, which came in 1968, and then 1977 Russian flu, and more genetic shifts is happening, that is creating new variants. There are important antiviral and vaccines are produced. Oseltamivir are inhibitor of neuraminidase activity, and you have many other drugs also, which are synthesized. You can remember that antiviral drug Tamiflu, which was given, that was also a neuraminidase inhibitor, and which is like very important. That sorry, this oseltamivir, trade name is only Tamiflu. And there are vaccines which are available, but yearly vaccination is required for effectively protection, because every time you can see there is new variants are created, and then there is genetic change is happening in this virus. So this is about influenza virus. Thank you.